Alright friends, welcome to an episode of the Iron Vlog. This is of course the moto vlog all about heavy metal. And let's just say, you cannot have a show about heavy metal and not kick it off with the fathers of heavy metal itself. That's right, I am speaking of Ozzy Osbourne, Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Bill Ward, otherwise known as Black Sabbath. You know, to me, heavy metal definitely began on Friday, February the 13th, 1970, with the release of Black Sabbath's self-titled debut album. Just the sound on there, no one had ever heard anything like that. They just completely set a different bar of music. And I know there's people out there who would argue that Led Zeppelin is heavy metal. And while Led Zeppelin obviously has some heavy metal songs, they were not an all heavy metal band. I mean, they have a lot of folk songs and ballads, and so Black Sabbath really came out with the definitive sound of what heavy metal has become. And, you know, it's a funny story about how all that happened. Black Sabbath, when they first got together, they were not called Black Sabbath. They were actually named Earth. And they played a lot of like Beatles covers, Elvis covers, and were more along the lines probably of a Zeppelin-ish, little bluesy, kind of folky. And fate intervened, where Tony Iommi was working at a steel mill factory, steel plant, and 2 days before he was going to quit his job and pursue his dream of being in this band Earth, he was cutting steel in a press, and two of his fingers got caught in the press, and it cut the tips off two of his fingers. This obviously, as any guitarist will know, you kind of feel like, well, that's the end of my career. So he decided to take wax and plastic and melted wax and plastic onto his fingertips, so he could actually have some tips to grab the fretboard and play. Well, he realized that he needed to loosen the strings of his guitar in order to get the proper bends, and by doing so, detuning his guitar, which gave birth to the detuned heavy metal sound. I mean, think about that. Think if this man did not get his fingertips cut off and had to go to these lengths, that there would be no Black Sabbath. It would be a band called Earth, and who knows what kind of material they would have put out. I mean, with the talent, with the level of musicianship in that band, I'm sure it still would have been good, but it would not have been heavy metal. So now they had the sound. Well, they couldn't write about flowers and chicks and stuff like that. They needed to write a little more gloom and doom, and that's where bassist Geezer Butler came in. He was very much into the occult, loved reading books about witchcraft and black magic and all of that kind of stuff, so started writing songs with lyrics like that. And I do believe that the very first song they ever wrote was the song Black Sabbath, and that's where they ended up taking the name from as well. You know, just absolutely incredible, changed the face of music, and they, you know, for quite some time put out amazing albums. Paranoid is an absolutely amazing album. Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, amazing. But as we all know, sometimes getting a little bit of success and being with the same people for so long, you know, relationships can get destroyed, and especially in that era when you know, heroin use and drugs were just insane levels. You know, of course, the band imploded, and they kicked Ozzy out of the band. And you know, when Ozzy left, I think that they looked at it as, well, what do we do now? And they did find an amazing replacement for Ozzy Osbourne. Now, I am a Black Sabbath purist. To me, it is Ozzy Black Sabbath. But when you put a young man named Ronnie James Dio into those shoes, you know, Black Sabbath Heaven and Hell, that album with Dio, honestly, is probably one of the best Black Sabbath albums out there. Rodney James Dio stepped into enormous shoes having to fill, you know, Ozzy's place. And, you know, we know, you know, Black Sabbath fans know that only lasted for a couple albums because, you know, Dio, they just didn't get the response they were looking for, and then they went ahead and they really offended their new singer, you know, by asking if they could go ahead. Ozzy invited them to open up for him, because obviously we all know Ozzy went on to have an amazing solo career. He just exploded once he put out Blizzard of Oz and found the young guitarist Randy Rhoads, which was so ahead of his time that it just absolutely propelled Ozzy's music and him into stardom. But anyway, so Dio was very upset with that, feeling like, you got to be kidding me, you want me to open up for your ex-lead singer who has done nothing but completely trash me in the media and press and everything. So needless to say, Dio left the band, and they went through several different other singers. I think Glenn Hughes from Rainbow was a lead singer of theirs. I mean, for a while I had tuned out. It's just kind of like, all right, it's not Sabbath anymore. But here we are now. It's 2014, and Black Sabbath has reunited with Ozzy. And now, mind you, Bill Ward, the drummer, was not a part of this project, and there's lots of speculation of why. Some people said that it was the money, some people said that he just didn't want to be a part of it, and then there's also the fact that, you know, he's a 67-year-old man that doesn't want to go out on tour and play drums for 3 hours a night, which I respect. I mean, that's a lot of work. But they reunited with Ozzy, and they picked up the drummer, the young drummer from Rage Against the Machine, who, I apologize, my friend, I can't remember your name, but I'll tell you what, this Black Sabbath album that they put out, it's called 13, is absolutely incredible. It is just pure Black Sabbath. There's no frills, no, we're trying to reinvent the wheel. It is just old school, timeless, classic Black Sabbath. And a large part of that has to be given to Rick Rubin, the producer. You know, he definitely is that producer out there that can find the best in a band and can really get them to bring out their style of music. I mean, if I was in a band, I would not want anyone to produce my albums other than Rick Rubin. So, but I have to say, if you have tuned out of Sabbath but are a heavy metal fan, please go check out Black Sabbath's new album 13. It is just spectacular heavy metal. You cannot go wrong with this album, and hats off to all of them for pulling their shit together and realizing that there's a lot of fans out there that want to hear good heavy metal music again, and we don't get a lot of that today. You know, I'm sorry, fucking Nickelback is not heavy metal. You know, and we just get all this radio-tuned crap. It's either this guy's screaming and he's pissed off and wants to burn the world. You know, I just have a hard time believing all the screaming, I hate the world, angry rock when all these guys go home to mansions and bang penthouse pets. You're not going to convince me that your life sucks and that life is hard and pain for you. So, really, as I said, friends, get out there and check out this new Black Sabbath album. I think you're really going to enjoy it. And as always, you know, thank you so much for checking out the Iron Vlog. I'm going to try to keep these things coming. I'm going to try to do at least one a week. And, you know, like I said, I'm going to talk everything from old school metal to some of the newer stuff that's out there that I think is quality. And, you know, just keeping it going. So if you're digging it, cool, really do appreciate it. Please go ahead and subscribe. If not, hey, you know what? Thanks for checking out the video, and I hope maybe I turned you on to some good music, all right? So as always, thanks again, and I'll catch you next time. Later.